Welcome back to MTP Live. Hello, hello. Yay, I'm so happy you're joining us today. We have one more session left on this beautiful Sunday, and it is with Jason Primrose of The Uncaged Creative and his book series, Lost Children of Andromeda. Yay, okay, good. I think we're good.
Yeah, what's up? How's it going? Yeah.
Good. How are
Can
you?
hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to try to, yeah, there we go. Okay.
Nice.
Trying to, like, navigate being, like, you know, being able to move around, but also be loud enough so you can hear me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We can hear you well. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, so Jason, can you please tell us about yourself and what you make?
Yeah, so I write science fiction novels, sci-fi fantasy novels, and I have this beautiful, I think it's beautiful, printed hardcover copy that I started bringing to Melrose Trading Post, along with this basic setup, so you can kind of see the bookshelf that was custom made and all the artwork. Oh, sorry, I should have thrown the light so you can see everything. So yeah, so the artwork and the little podium, and yeah, so this is what I normally bring to the trading post.
Yeah, it was really cool seeing your booth in the market. You know, it really stood out with the incredible artwork from the book, and of course, you being there, it's like a very special thing to kind of like meet an author and be drawn to their book and talk to them about the book, and it's a very unique experience.
Yeah, so it's funny that you say that, because I thought that there was no place in the Melrose Trading Post market for me. I'd been there before, I'd shopped there, but I was like, well, they wouldn't want books there. And it actually kept me from reaching out for over a year. And one day I was just like, I could just try and just see. And James was so wonderful in welcoming me and saying, hey, try it out. Let's see how it works. Like, maybe this is a new thing we haven't thought about. So yeah, it's been amazing. I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, it was a leap of faith for sure to kind of pop up.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm really glad you did, because it's something special, and now we get to share it here as well, which is very cool.
Yeah, definitely.
About how you became a writer, an author, like what brought you into that world?
Sure. So funny story. This is the original book. So it's called Dragon Wars, and I wrote it when I was 10. It's got my little drawings in there. So this is the original story that became this, and I've had this story in my head since I was really young, and I would write in secret, but kind of like what Michael was talking about earlier, I took this whole path of like learning structure and like understanding process and like working for other people and figuring out how to like you know, run businesses and grow businesses. And all the while, I was like writing these little stories in secret and like putting them in a little drawer, and you know, not really paying attention to what could be possible with them. I also didn't graduate from college, so I pretty much taught myself to write. But in that like kind of journey and that process, I discovered like that writing was just the thing that I loved more than anything else. And so if I could do anything all the time or anything for the rest of my life, it would be writing. It would be creating. And so, yeah, I've got an opportunity to embrace that now, especially with the help of Melrose Trading Post.
Excuse me. I wanted to ask you, what makes you like sci-fi so much, and what drew you to creating a sci-fi world?
Oh my gosh. So, like, I am a reader. So I grew up on like Chronicles of Narnia, Wrinkle in Time. I read I read everything, anything you could imagine. I was reading it. And I've always loved space and the stars and aliens, and I don't know, my imagination's a little wild. And so when I think about ways to, and this world kind of came to me. I mean, it really did come to me. I don't even say that it's my idea. Like I'm channeling, you know, something that may or may not exist in another plane, another realm, whatever. But it stuck with me for 25 years. And so to be able to bring it to life in an authentic way where I'm kind of just like letting the words be and letting the characters tell their story, it's not something that I could even say like, oh, I woke up today and, you know, and I decided to be, I'm into it. It's part of me. It's like ingrained in my imagination and in my thought processes. And so it's natural. It's like more natural for me to write scenes in science fiction than it even is to write marketing copy.
Wow. That's incredible. I've heard that with some other authors about the idea that it's being channeled through you. It's something that, you know, you don't necessarily need to claim it, but you get to be the person to bring it to the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a stewardship, I think, is what the word would be. Yeah, and I like, it takes a lot of pressure off thinking about it that way too, because it's not this like burden of, or I must, you know, kind of thing. So yeah, I appreciate that as well.
I love that. And so this series, you know, you've had the story with you and you've brought it to life over these years. Can you show us the first book of it and show us the cover and really like get up close with it so we can really check out the
So this is Zosma. Let's see. I'll show you some of the, it was like, I wanted to do, you know, I'm an independent author. So, I funded everything. I wanted it to be really, really high quality. So it's like a high quality book. So I'm trying to find one of the photos. And it's got little like black and white photos in it. So yeah, it's like high quality. There's photos, there's music with excerpts.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, and so it's like, it was like really important to have like certain like just formatting elements and things like that. So yeah, it's really cool because when I was at the market, like being able to, people pick this up and they look at it and they're like, this is yours? Like, oh my goodness. And, you know, like you're the author, and people were really surprised that I was the author, and just people they're so supportive, you know, of like,
nice.
of this baby that I created, you know, so that, or brought to life really. So yeah, this is the novel hardcover. It's about 400 pages. Yeah, and it's probably got about 30 or 40 artworks in there. Every place you see kind of like dark, if you can see, you probably can't see that well, but any place you see, you know, shade, there's like all of these.
Wow. Yeah, the images are so powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Excuse me. And so, like, speaking of the images, I see, like, of course, your backdrop is an incredible presentation, and your website is also just, like, incredible with the visuals. There's a trailer. Like, it's just, you seem so innovative for what you're doing. You know, like, as an independent person, I'm really, like, impressed with how you've marketed yourself. Can you tell us about that and what you're doing?
Thank you. Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I worked with startup businesses, and so I kind of learned how to, like, you know, figure out a way to get your name out there. I think of all the ways I've marketed my business, actually, though, in terms of sales, the two things that were really helpful were Kickstarter and then Melrose Trading Post, for sure. And so I do a lot of social media. A lot of sharing of the artwork and excerpts and videos about the journey, like the writing path on Lost Children of Andromeda. I'm launching like a digital promotion campaign for the first time to kind of get people to know about the world even more than the book, but just like kind of understand the world and the characters and the themes. I still have the home pop-up, and I plan to take that back out when we are able to. And I didn't have the backdrop before, so it adds like another layer of like immersion to the space and entertaining the spaces. Yeah, you know, I think really leaning into it, really leaning into the story, really leaning into like what I'm able to represent in the world of literature. And that it is an independent journey, and it's a journey, and it's okay that like everything that happens is happening. I'm trying to think of some other things that really worked. Obviously, learning a lot. So working with different editors and reading different blogs about writing style, reading different books about writing style and character emotion and stuff like that. So improving the craft so that the finished product is packaged well, but then also reads really well too. So those are some of the ways that I think in terms of like promoting my business and being authentic to like what I want to create or what I want to show, and then marketing that. So this was like originally I came to Melrose with like a blanket. It was, I mean, it's a cute blanket, but it was a little blanket, and I had the letters that said Zosma, and I had some of the books and like one of the posters, which is basically this poster, but framed. And people were excited and intrigued and bought books. And I said, so I have this 10 by 10 space, right, that I could potentially have every week if I do things the right way. How do I make this like a moment where people are discovering something they've never heard of before? And that's how the pop-up, I was like, so if I invest a little bit of money in something a little bit bigger, you know, like something that will really catch people's attention, then who knows what could happen. And let me tell you, like, the sales really increased, like, just from that. Being able to experience the music in the chair, being able to see the characters, being able to touch and feel the book and everything like that. So, yeah.
It really shows, you know, how much time you put in to the learning and to sharpening your craft with the final product and what you've put out there and the care that you've put with every decision. You know, it's really impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so, you know, we're in a different time right now where markets are closed. So what are you doing now that, you know, the in-person interaction is limited and, you know, we're all at home?
Yeah. So one thing that was really cool that we did, we had an art contest because, you know, for me, I'm like, there's people who probably feel stifled. I know I felt stifled at the beginning, like, what can I do during this time? And so getting people reconnected to their like creative skills or whatever they're passionate about was something that I thought could be valuable during this time. So ran an art contest, grand prize $500, and got some amazing like interpretive pieces of like Alistair, the main character, and his journey toward inner power. And so that was like one of my favorite things, increased engagement and follows on Lost Children of Andromeda. The artists were really happy to have something to create through. So that was really awesome. And like I said, I'm launching a digital marketing campaign that uses the artwork and some of the key themes and like value propositions and things like that to get people who don't know what Lost Children of Andromeda is to be interested in what Lost Children of Andromeda is.
Wow, that's incredible. That's such a good idea. And I'm really impressed that you like funded an art contest supporting artists. Really nice and like to inspire people. That's such a beautiful way to like share your story and to share like your love of like the imagery also that people make. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. If anyone who's watching and you can see the all the contestants. I actually think I didn't post them all. Oh, they're all posted individually because people vote individually, so you can see they're like the last 5 posts were the artwork submissions, and then I did like a scroll on my personal. But yeah, they really, I was like, oh my god. I mean, I knew that people would do really great, like a really great job, but I was even blown away by what came back. I was just like, wow, there's so many talented people. Like, this is perfect. This is perfect. So
That's really cool. I like that you've taken, something that really can help people during this time and push that forward, because I think we all need, something like that, something to get us excited and to get our minds going and our hands going. And
yeah. I want to like keep things moving. I might turn off this light. Hold on a second. Does that make a big difference? Yeah. Yeah. So, because one thing when the quarantine started was like, I lost clients, I lost certain things, but like we always have our ability to connect virtually, and I always have my writing. And I was like, how can we remind each other that we still have our passions, our loves, our crafts? Like, we don't need permission to create really anywhere. We can just like wake up and start drawing, and that can be just amazing. Just as amazing as getting paid to do it, or reporting somewhere to do it, or anything like that. So yeah.
And you mentioned writing. So are you working on the next book in the series?
Oh yes, 2050Z is the name of the next book. I actually just got off of a really amazing. We have like a 12-person beta reader book club that we're doing, and so we read a chapter and then go over it every week. I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited about that book. It was originally going to come out this year, but it's moved to next year, which I'm super excited about, because, time is relative. Time is relative in so many ways, because basically humans made up time. We use the astrological positioning of the stars to come up with a 12-month system, and so it's really interesting, because now time doesn't seem to be working the same way. Like, I kind of count the days versus the days of the week from when we started the quarantine, which in the book we count down from the days left in the world, because there's an apocalypse coming. So it's kind of an interesting parallel to be writing during that. But yeah, so 2050Z comes out next year, probably around this time, like May-ish, 2021, and I'm really excited about it.
So cool. I'm always so fascinated by someone who can weave stories together for several different books and create an incredible series that ties together a whole world and a whole community of characters. Do you see this series being a certain number of books, or do you not know yet what it'll be, as far as numbers?
That's a great question. In terms of how many books I see it being 6 or 7. There may be some kind of similar to Harry Potter, 6 and 7 are a 2-parter, or 7 will be really long, because it's kind of the culmination, and I can get away with it at that point, right? After you have a few books out, they'll let you get away with a higher word count. So yeah, that's definitely, that's kind of that's how I planned it out when I originally wrote it. So this book I ended up taking and writing when I was about 15. I wrote 8 books out of it, and now basically those are not, they're non-existent, but I'm basically rewriting those, and it'll be 7 books instead. So
that's fantastic. That's so I love the story of how this world is coming to life through you, and it's so interesting to be pinpointing a specific time where you're at in the process, because there will be a time when you're all done with the whole series and you'll be looking back at it and
oh my god, yeah, thank you for that, because I never even, it's funny, even in kind of the steady motion, I hadn't come to grips with the fact that one day I will finish, and I'm like, wait, then what? Then what do I do? Oh, it's I feel like it's my life's work. It's so funny. That's so funny.
Well, it's an honor to be here in this part of your creation, because I'm sure it's an exciting time to be like on the cusp of another book being released, and having this book out now and having people respond to it. Um, and I love that you did this art contest. That's incredible. It really shows how much you like to interact with your community too, and that you're building a community with these stories. Do you see like what the fandom is growing into, and like, what kind of people are drawn to this story so far?
Like what specifically?
Like as far as the people that are responding to your book, do you see like any similarities in them? Do you see like qualities in yourself that you see in them? Like what do you feel like your audience, your fandom is growing into?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. So I think that one of the big things is diversity. Has been a really powerful through line, but also this idea of like transformation and like ownership of your inner power has been an interesting like collective conscious movement that I think will be a really strong tie to why people like the book, because it's science fiction but also addresses some of those themes. And so that's been a similarity, but like even with Melrose Trading Post, like I had so many different types of people come up that were fans of science fiction, sci-fi, fantasy, of comic books, of graphic novels, of anything like artistic or nerdy, and that spectrum is so broad. Like there's so much diversity in people that absorb that type of content, and so I think it was recognizing like someone that from of a diverse background, writing about people of diverse backgrounds too, and diverse meaning everything. So there's all different types of people from all over the world, and even other planets in the story. So I have to tell you a story. My craziest thing that happened the last time I popped up right before you guys closed down. Lil Nas X came by my booth and got 2 copies of Zosma, and I was completely mind blown, because it was kind of like oh my gosh, what's his name from Beatology?
Gordon.
Yeah, he was saying Gordon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, was saying that like you never know who's going to come through, and like really putting yourself out there is the secret sauce. It's like the power. It's like getting up, and like Michael was saying, like in terms of discipline, like getting up, standing on your feet, and really it's like about like being interactive and being standing up and talking to people and inviting them in, and really being engaged with what you're doing and what everyone's like looking for or doesn't know they're looking for. And that takes like discipline, and I learned a lot of that from previous jobs and previous work, and so I just love that, being able to kind of show up in that way and be that same level of like go all day for like 12 hours basically. It starts, I leave the house at 6 and then we load out at 6, so yeah.
It's so true. Like the people that set up there and do that, they have to love what they're doing, because it is such a labor of love. You're waking up early, you're getting yourself dressed, putting your shoes on, driving yourself out there, and setting up a whole little world for people to come and explore. And I love that we can bring in someone like you who brings something unexpected to the market, and something that really like envelops people's imagination, and it's so creative. So yeah, it was such a fun thing that we got to interact with you in that way, because I learned so much about like through this, just being an author, and how how you're really like pioneering this story into the world. And it's such a beautiful like behind the scenes look at someone that, if you hadn't had the courage to come to the market and apply and everything, like we wouldn't know all these beautiful stories.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you did this.
Thank you, and thank you for welcoming something new. Yeah, it's cool, because I think that we're responsible for everything that comes into our space, and we're responsible. You know, I was like, oh, are the books going to sell themselves? No. So finding different ways to kind of just like, okay, you know what, I'm going to go do this now and see how it works, and just keep doing that. Like, keep doing that with your business, keep doing that during quarantine, keep doing that after quarantine. It's like, it's in those moments where we are uncomfortable that we grow. And I think that Melrose Trading Post was uncomfortable for me, just by the sheer being up there and kind of inviting people into my world every time somebody passes by, essentially. So yeah, I think that's kind of the lesson. It's like, let's try something new. Like, let's keep trying new things and figuring out ways to like get ourselves out there.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate that. You know, you're someone who really takes risks and puts yourself out there for something that you're so passionate about. And I think that's what it takes to sell, like you were saying, just to like put yourself out there. So as far as being in the market and that experience, are you inspired? Like right now, are you thinking of like, when the market comes back, I'm going to try to do this new thing, or what's your next idea that you're kind of working on as far as like promoting this book in the series?
I that's interesting that you say that, because so I didn't have the backdrop. I have a chair that's like a gaming chair where you can sit in and listen to the excerpts and sit and listen to the soundtrack. So something I'm trying to work on is like a tech integration where when you hover over these pictures, that there's an AR like interaction, like the characters can talk to you, or there's like an animation or some sort of like way that you can interact with that. So that's something that I'm working on, because I think that'd be really cool. And then it would also be the same kind of trigger as what you see in the book, so it would happen when you're reading as well. So that's something that I'm working on now. And I think finding a way to like do readings without being disruptive to like whatever else is happening around, but like doing like kind of pop-up readings where I might read like a short excerpt and for whoever's around. But yeah, so those are kind of the things that I think would be cool to, again, bringing people more in, giving people a way to interact, be immersed. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Well, speaking of reading, would we like to switch gears and get to the reading of the book we've been talking about?
Yes. Okay. I admittedly did not practice, but I will bring this to life in the best way that I can. Okay. So this is an excerpt from Zosma. Zosma, yes. www.lostchildrenofandromeda.com. Currently on sale. I'm hand signing them, of course, and they come with a free bookmark. So this is from near the beginning of Zosma, where Alistair Adams is looking for an alien refugee to save her before they use her energy to take over the world. So, Alistair Adams, abandoned C-20 HQ, former Middle East. Alistair and Celine rode atop a chariot of sand across the Iraqi desert, baking at 150 degrees of cloudless daylight. Dilapidated skyscrapers and houses buried under mountainous sand dunes whizzed by, all of it obliterated in a dust storm called the Middle Beast. Crossing 3 time zones at hundreds of miles per hour had put them a day ahead of his intended ambush. And just as they stopped moving, Celine's face lost its pecan color. "I caused this," she whispered, in eerie silence now surrounding them. C-20's mushroom-shaped tower held a wicked smile of broken windows and was severed from the base, lying crumpled on its side. The condition of the all-seeing tower implied the corrupt organization was dead, but they both knew that notion was the furthest from possible. If it were 2 months prior, the watchtower would have been patrolling the region for trespassers. If it were 2 months prior, Celine would be inside it, strapped to a device amplifying her sand manipulation powers beyond her control. It was that machine he disregarded in a rush to find his mother before C-20 carried out their threats. Her skin opened with a loud tear, and fissures split along her arm and torso. She hid them with a rapid turn of her body, and yet, in that brief moment's time, Alistair saw her skin had mutated to slate rock. He wanted to comfort her, knowing she felt the same sense of loss and dread and pain, but afraid to connect on any level of intimacy. He left her to calm her own heaving. After sealing her lips and eyes closed, she did, then whispered. No one had a chance. She wrung her hands, her eyes now open and glued to the ground under their feet. The UN blamed global warming. Any fool would know there was nothing natural about what happened. Pressure to relieve her of her obligation to help him elbowed its way into his conscience. She'd been exploited enough, had been lured into using the sand she loved as a weapon against the innocent, and he'd come back and asked her to use her gifts, though not for destruction, but still for something as immoral as deceit. He shifted his weight. I thought this had passed, she muttered, floating away from him. It was PTSD at its finest. She'd almost died there, and he, mustering all the audacity and naivete in the world, had asked her to come back on a hunch. The tightness in his chest wouldn't leave, not unless she did. Alistair pushed his hair away from his face and styled it into a bun on top of his head. Alistair Adams arrived, Sink announced next to his ear. Former capital of Iraq, al-Basra. The inevitable, dreaded location check-in. Decades ago it was a choice, celebrated and rewarded on social platforms. Now, location services went right into Sink's data-collecting brain, the same brain the authorities use to track anyone on the network. The infantry is lighter the further you get from the dome, Celine pointed out. Do you know what you're looking for? Hey, we agreed no questions, Alistair replied. I doubt your government considers this laying low, she spat. I didn't pay for advice. I paid for cover. Flushed cheeks joined the scowl on Celine's face. Her reserve raised to normal, her tone's temperature lowered to cold. I'll get to it then, she said, ahead of him, glaring at the disheveled face. She took several calming breaths, and the frustrated wrinkles subsided from her forehead. With humility, I call upon this fallen nation's ashes. Rise up and cover the route of the spirit on his search for the lost. Alistair slid the tattered gray bandana around his neck, over his mouth and nose. Awe and envy befell him in secret behind the thin cloth. Peace, the kind Alistair rarely achieved, had drowned her frustration. The door to her evolutionary gifts wasn't the devil's fiery red, it was the sky's placid blue. When speaking, or rather manifesting her will, the earth listened, like child to mother or vice versa. Such calm must have dwelled in her heart, a calm that contrasted what unfolded on the desert horizon. Two opposing sand armies raised from the east and west rushed at them, thundering and torrential. With her arms thrust, the storm converged and charged forward, picking up anything and everything terrestrial in its path. Wind aided the sand's fury, joined the catastrophic distraction, and kept the dust moving around even after her hands returned to her sides. I trust you can find your way from here, she shouted, yanking the QB transfer trip from her bosom and shoving it into his chest. Stay away from my country, Alistair Adams. It took him a second to look down, transfixed by what she'd conjured from pure intention. When he did, she'd removed her hand, and he caught the chip inches from the restless desert floor. Alistair came back up to thank her or apologize or explain himself, but her face and body dissolved, carried away by the storm as fine ground rock. The end. Yay!
Wow. Incredible. That was incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Jason, you showed us a little bit of the book and the cover, but the artwork for this is just so incredible. And I mean, with the way you paint the story with your words, you can see why your visuals are so like intense and detailed and beautiful, because your words are as well. It's
Thank you.
incredible.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
How did you how did you bring your words into the visual world and create all these beautiful images for your book?
I did a lot of Pinterest boarding actually. So I would pull excerpts and then also I would pull excerpts and then put them together kind of like in a creative brief and then have the artist kind of interpret what they wanted to see. Yeah, so it's a fun collaborative process. I like engaging the artists and I like engaging the composer that I have for the music. Which I think we should do another live, do like a soundtrack listen. Yeah, I'm just honestly like I'm so incredibly blessed to be able to even do this and to have this come to me and to be able to put it out in the world and let it live how it lives and be accepted how it's accepted and just be along for the ride. Like it's really amazing. I don't think I ever imagined there'd be a day where I could do this when I was growing up, and so to be able to do it is just like it's so special. It's really really special. Yeah.
And it's beautiful that you are doing it and other people will see you and learn about you and be inspired themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Really beautiful. So you want to tell us a little bit more about the story or anything else about the book just to get us excited to go get our own copy?
Yeah, I mean, it's like immersive, you know. So there's each character kind of has their own song, which is available on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, and so you know when you read the book all the way through, then you can go back to like kind of specific moments that are linked to the excerpts and relive the world through the music. Which I think is really fun and exciting. So if you were to read like a passage like that, and then you listen to the song that like kind of corresponds with that passage, and it's not every passage has a song, but it's like Alistair's journey overall. So you know that like anything from his narration point has this kind of like valiant, like you know, lots of string instruments and like kind of like storyline. So anything like that, the desert and searching, is going to be like in that vein. So I think just like the world being immersive, the fact that it's part of a series, you get to go on a journey with these characters and learn about them and grow with them and watch them make mistakes and meet different people and change sides and like all of that stuff. I think that I just love Zosma, and I love the story of like that character Zosma, who's like the secondary protagonist, and then Alistair's journey of like fear and learning how to use his power so that he can save her. Yeah, and her learning to use her power so that she can save herself, which is actually ends up I think can be even more important at times. So yeah, it's a great read. I love it. It's my like first like self-published, fully produced piece of work, and there will be another one coming out really soon. So less than a year. Anyone would have to wait to dive deeper into the world, which is really exciting.
Very beautiful. I love how you're so interested in bringing the story to life further and creating more media and playing with all different kinds of media to tell your story and create an immersive world. It's so innovative.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, I think that it's so exciting, you know, because it's the future of storytelling. And I'm so grateful that you've brought this to us today and you've shared so much about the creation of it and how much it means to you. So thank you so much. Where can we buy the book and where can we connect with you and all the things you're doing around this beautiful world?
Amazing. Thank you. So you can buy the book at lostchildrenofandromeda.com. Again, it's you can get it on there. Any book bought on the website, I will sign with a nice note. Not just my name, I actually write notes in there and ship that out to you. And shipping is free on there, so that's something. And you can follow Lost Children of Andromeda for artwork, book reviews of other amazing books that I love in the sci-fi fantasy genre. Any sort of collaborations and things like that. And then the Uncaged Creative is my personal, and that's kind of my journey through life and transformation and literature and all of the things. And that's just where I share, like, I write poetry on there actually, some poetry and some like introspective thoughts and things like that. So yeah, so those are the places. I started a Patreon. Still working on kind of figuring out how that like looks and breathes. And Pinterest, if you like, pinning comic book stuff or nerdy stuff, I have a Pinterest board with all the artwork and everything on there.
Wow.
Things that I love too, like other things that I love and kind of the vein as well. So yeah.
That's really cool. It's almost like a little glimpse into your inspirations and then what came out of all the inspirations.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. Are there any closing thoughts you want to leave us with for today?
I just want to thank Melrose Trading Post for being innovative, or the Greenway Art Alliance for being really innovative about how they engage their vendors and being able to not only have like our meetups where we can talk about different things that are going on and what we've heard and learned, but then giving us an opportunity to interact with the community digitally while we wait out the uncertainty of the quarantine and everything like that. It really has been a really, really significant place of growth for my business and for me as a person too. So.
Thank you so much, Jason. I'm so happy that you've chosen to join our community and grow your business with us. It's really impressive what you're doing, and I know you're inspiring other people that are watching this and everyone probably that you talk to, because it's incredible what you're doing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, well, have a good one. And
you too. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you this week.
Bye. All
right, bye.
Oh, that was wonderful. How incredible. So definitely, I agree with Patrick in your comment. That would be a very cool quarantine read. So if anyone's looking for a book to read and a series to get into, you've got plenty of time to read the first book, Zosma, of the series Lost Children of Andromeda. And so by next year, the second book will be out and you'll be ready to read it. So make sure you follow Jason. His other Instagram that he mentioned is the Uncaged Creative. And definitely check out the website, lostchildrenofandromeda.com. Once again, I can't even believe it. We're at the end of another MTP Live. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for listening to all these people's stories. These are creative small business owners. They're artists. They're authors. They're musicians. And so I'm so grateful that we still get to connect in this way, even though our market is temporarily closed. I've seen a few times people asking if we know when the market will be open, and we do not, unfortunately. But we are just sitting and waiting, listening, studying what other markets are doing to make sure that we are ready to open when it is safe to open, and that we know what to do, and we follow all the rules, and we make it safe for patrons, vendors, staff, everyone. So please, please, please. Oh, hello, everybody. Oh, hey. Oh, my gosh. Okay. There's so many beautiful people on here watching. Thank you so much. So I'll be posting the replays on IGTV, and then later today, they will be up on our website. Possibly later this week, they'll be up on our website. It does take a little while. But I have posted all of the ones from the last 2 weeks on melrosetradingpost.org/MTP-live. And I'll post it in our stories with a little swipe up link, so it's easy to go check out. But definitely, you can also look at our profile links, and it's in our link tree, and it goes to the MTP Live website. We also have the online shop directory where you can shop Melrose Trading Post vendors, past and present. Ooh. And basically still connect with local businesses, even though the market is closed. My uncle from Argentina is on. Hello, Alejandro. And so, yes, so make sure that you're able to still shop locally, even though our market is closed, by visiting melrosetradingpost.org/directory. And again, I'll put a link to that in our stories, but you can access it through our profile link. Thank you again for connecting with us on MTP Live. I'll be back next Sunday at 12 p.m. And check our Instagram for updates on anything to do with the market and updates on our vendors. And also check out our website, and you can subscribe to our newsletter on our website, and we'll be emailing out any major updates that we get. So once again, I'm Natalie from Greenway Art Alliance. These are the beautiful, here we are. These are the beautiful programs that we have at Greenway Art Alliance. You're familiar with the Melrose Trading Post. We also have the Greenway Institute for the Arts, which is our art education program, and the Greenway Court Theatre, which is a 99-seat theater right next to the high school on Fairfax Avenue. It's an incredible space. I highly recommend you check it out when everything opens back up. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a lovely week. Bye.